Welcome back. My name is Aki Anastasiou. It's Cloudy with a Chance of VMware in conversation with Sumeeth Singh, who's the cloud provider business lead at VMware, as well as Syse, who is the cloud technology lead. And we're having a conversation. We're continuing our conversation, talking about the cloud, the complexities that are out there, and why VMware is the solution for you. Welcome back, gents. Now, you often hear of these words. I love people that throw words around like public cloud and hyperscaler. I mean, hyperscaler, let's be honest, it's a sexy word. I want to call myself a hyperscaler, but there's such a massive difference with using the words high. Can you explain hyperscaler, public cloud, hybrid cloud? What is that all about?
We always joke in this industry, and I say, if you had to ask 10 people the definition of cloud, you'd receive 15 different answers, right? And it really speaks to our industry being very buzzword bingo oriented, if I may, Aki.
No, you guys are at fault. You guys spread this buzzword bingo that you talk about.
So to simplify that narrative a bit, around multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, speaking to the extensibility of having this ability to adopt and the ability to have your workloads in different places, speaking to the hybridity of cloud. In terms
there you go. You see, he's just added a new word: hybridity. Hybridity. Okay.
Yeah,
but can't you say like flexibility?
So
is there a difference?
Still a difference there as well.
Okay.
Right.
So hybridity.
Hybridity. So hybridity speaks to the ability to have a cloud on-prem or your infrastructure on-prem, your infrastructure residing in a cloud provider, VMware Cloud, for instance, your workloads residing in a VMware footprint that we now have in the hyperscales, giving you that hybrid model. Multi-cloud speaking to multiple clouds, now bringing that entire ecosystem together. But what's really becoming quite interesting, Aki, is around cloud adoption. It really needs to speak to a fit-for-purpose discussion. You speak to any end organization or any entity, and they'll tell you, we're taking the business to the cloud. Yes. And I want to flip that narrative a bit to say it's more about bringing the cloud to your business. What is driving the business need or the business outcome to needing to adopt a cloud?
Oh, a different approach completely. I like that.
So it is a bit of a flip on its head and potentially controversial, and we could debate that for hours. But it really is around, why are you adopting cloud? What is the business driver that's driving cloud adoption? Yes, there's technological reasons, and we can talk around scalability, flexibility, cost optimizations, etc. But it really does also speak to what is the business outcome that you are driving from a cloud adoption perspective. And I'm sure Lee has some additional points
guys,
there as well.
The point here is that how many organizations have started this journey to the cloud, and they realize it's very costly, but they've done it for the wrong reasons.
Quite right.
And that's why you got guys like yourself, when you start that journey to the cloud, you need that technical involvement and that expertise. And I mean, what is the process, Lee? I mean, if you go to an organization, just to what we were just talking about a second ago, you need to understand what your business needs are. How do you take that approach with an organization that says, we need to get to the cloud? What is that journey? How does that journey start?
It's a very interesting one, Aki. And if I had to give you a detailed answer, we'd probably sit here for days. But if I could summarize it in my point of view, I want to actually go back to one point you made about what's the difference between hyperscaler, private cloud. We actually have another scenario, because if you ask an end customer, or you refer to an end customer's private cloud, they're on-premise in a colo facility or in their data center.
Yes. Their
offsite is a cloud service provider's data center, or cloud verified partner's data center. If you ask a cloud provider, where's their private cloud? It's their on-prem. They refer to it as their on-prem, but it's actually off-prem to an end customer. So it's complex. But I think also a lot of organizations kind of look for the silver bullet, a tool that can analyze all applications and magically say, if it goes into this public cloud, X amount it's going to cost, and this is what it's going to do to your business, and so on. And I think
that's a perception that cloud is magic. It is magic, but you need to do it properly.
Exactly. And it's not only just an application thing, it's an operating model aspect, because going to cloud is one thing, but you have teams that manage networking, that manage storage, that manage compute, manage application frameworks. That operating model needs to change as well. You can't expect to go to cloud and expect the same people who are configuring the switches now to do networking in a public cloud or hyperscale or even a cloud service provider's platform.
Yeah.
Networking fundamentals is the same, but it works very differently.
Right.
So it's a manner that needs to be thought through. It's not a tool that you're going to run and just analyze. And it's not only a technology thing, it's a business aspect that you need to analyze as well.
Okay, fair enough. I hear what you're saying. So if a customer that's watching this right now, they're thinking to themselves, okay, we need to adopt this checklist. What would that checklist look like? Let's start with a checklist. Why do we want to move to the cloud? I presume it's right, data storage. What does that checklist look like, Lee?
It's an investment checklist, first of all. It could be things like investment, it's people, process, technology. The checklist is quite broad. And I think that checklist would differ for different organizations as well. We can't give you one scripted checklist for every organization because depending on the vertical you're in, that conversation changes. Because there might be aspects where edge requirements is there, and that's a different cloud concept. So it's very difficult to give you a scripted checklist because of the vertical independency. But I think if we had to summarize it, it's definitely people, process, and technology that would drive this discussion. And people could be your end customer or internal as well.
It's so interesting you say people, process, technology. And so many companies get the people part wrong. And that is the biggest obstruction to the cloud. If you don't have the buy-in from the people, that checklist is worthless.
I'd even expand on that and go, purpose, people, process, technology. Start with why.
No, I've just started to understand this people, process, technology. Now you're adding another one to this.
So the purpose being start with why.
Okay.
What's in it for you?
Yes.
Why do it?
Yeah.
We've had discussions with cloud providers as well as end customers that want to do it, have intention to do it, but the core reasons and fundamentals behind why they're doing it may be lacking.
Yeah.
And this is where cloud service providers really come to the fore, Aki. Businesses are not, an agriculture business, for instance, is not focused on IT. It's not their day jobs.
Yes.
This is where a cloud service provider comes in and is that trusted advisor to understand that industry vertical and best advise in terms of how to adopt, where the benefits come in, streamline that purpose, and then also work through the people, process, technology side of things.
Listen, I mean, this is such an exciting journey, and I just love what the cloud does, right? I mean, it adds tremendous benefits, flexibilities. If you do it right, it's going to differentiate you from being a great business to being a mediocre business. It's a journey that we all have to take. So where is this all going? And you look at the investments that have been made on data centers in this country and across the African continent. I'm just so excited for the future because the future is really happening at the moment. But where do you see this all going in the future? I mean, is it going to be a private cloud? Is it going to be a public cloud? Is it going to be hybrid? And when you look at the modernization of these technologies, I mean, edge computing is the next hot thing. As a service, equally as important. So where are we all going with this?
I think personally, it's going to be a consumption change, not really a cloud discussion, but how do you consume things? That is going to be the driver. And it's not all, I think Pat Gelsing actually.
By the way, my personal trainer keeps telling me that, how you consume things. But you're talking about it in the cloud perspective.
Yeah, right? So from a customer, essentially, how do you pay for the service? Are you buying something or are you going to consume it as a service?
Right.
And I think Pat Gelsing actually mentioned it well once, where he said that it's this approach of where everything was decentralized, needed to be centralized, and now it's decentralizing again.
Yes.
So that trend to predict in the next 5 years is difficult because things change. And from centralized to decentralized, we might see things decentralize again. So the fact of the matter is there's not going to be one approach. We're going to have multiple approaches, and that's why VMware is still such a predominant player in the market. If it was all in public cloud, we wouldn't exist.
Yes.
So I think there's going to be a mixture of it, and the complexity is going to be around how do you control that mixture of different elements you're consuming and put it in an operating model that's consumable as a customer.
Could you agree with him?
Fully agree, Aki. And I think what's also becoming more relevant as organizations and end customers embrace the cloud, and to Lee's point, it's this Uberization model that we're seeing happening industry-wide. Everybody wants everything as a service, on demand, fast and cheap.
Yes.
Right? And cloud speaks to that narrative and really answers to that. But what I think is also becoming more relevant is the fact that the hygienes around what happens in the cloud are still relevant and still need to take place. Disaster recovery. It's not implicit that if you are residing in any one of the clouds, that DR as a construct goes away. DR is still required. Backups are still required. What we're seeing now as organizations embrace this multi-cloud world is now multi-cloud management becomes a lot more relevant. How do I now manage multiple clouds? I now have data in a public cloud or in a hyperscale cloud. I now have data and workloads on premise. I now have some in a VMware cloud. How do I manage and streamline this across this multi-cloud world?
So I bet you your customers say, and they ask you this question often, is, well, why must I go with VMware? Why VMware?
If I had to give you a simple answer, VMware, trusted technology. We run most enterprises' business critical applications today, and we haven't failed them. So with VMware, our strategy is taking that same credibility that we've given you on-premise and offering it as a service. The difference is where it's been offered as a service could be local for sovereign requirements or for local requirements based on currency and such like. It could be in a public cloud. We've got that same stack in a public cloud. Yes. So the fact that it's unified, it's credible, it's predictable, and it's everywhere is a perfect answer to why.
Yeah. And I guess you guys understand the cloud more than anyone else.
So, I'd want to add on to what Lee mentioned, Aki. We've got strategic partnerships with the large hyperscalers, right? And that's interesting because we find ourselves in this I like to call it this competitive framework, where we are competitors at times, but we complement each other at times, right? In terms of some of the public cloud hyperscalers. So you are now able to have a VMware cloud in the likes of the public cloud hyperscalers. And that speaks to our partnerships with be it Microsoft, AWS, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, as to mention a few. So you have that ability to now consume VMware Cloud out of any one of these hyperscale clouds as well. Okay. So they've also seen the need and seeing us as a partner to offer VMware services out of their cloud platforms.
So there's an orchestra. Would VMware be the conductor of the orchestra?
I'd like to think so. And the reason behind it, Aki, is we speak a multi-cloud story. It's not about, we recognize that it is always ever going to be this multi-cloud world. That there isn't going to be this single homogeneous cloud that answers everything. Yeah. That it's going to be a fit for purpose. And there's going to be customers that have this multi-cloud infrastructure layout. And the fact that we offer multi-cloud management services, extending around security as a service anyway, products that speak to cost optimization across the stack.
Yes.
So I would recognize us as that orchestrator across the multi-cloud world.
Fantastic. Lee, closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just for us, our business is obviously working with local cloud service providers, and a lot of the time I think they overlooked. The public clouds are usually the fancy car that's out there, where in actual fact our cloud providers are fit for purpose and they deliver enterprise services that accommodates a lot of the enterprises in country. So I would like to motivate customers to really put thought out there of leveraging our local cloud verified partners, because they do deliver to a business need that is required at the moment.
Syse, the cloud technology lead for VMware for Sub Saharan Africa. Sumeeth Singh, the cloud provider business lead for Sub Saharan Africa at VMware. Gents, thank you for making it so easy. I've learned a lot and I've understood a lot more about the cloud, the complexities, and how VMware makes it all a lot easier and brings it all together. Thank you for joining us. Awesome discussion. It's cloudy with a chance of VMware. Hope you've enjoyed this episode.